car, Neil. You're going to jail. You're under arrest for disorderly persistence. Get out. Watch this.
Yep. Neil, come on. Stop. I don't know what you're talking about, Neil.
A glass bottle smashes across the floor, and everyone freezes. "You think I don't know what you did?" The voice is loud, shaky, desperate, and it's coming from a 68-year-old man who looks like he's seconds away from collapsing. Now let me ask you something. If you walked into a grocery store and saw an elderly man screaming at a younger woman, pointing, accusing, shaking with anger, what would you assume? Because everyone in that store made the same assumption, that he was the problem. That's exactly what the camera shows, a shaky phone video, people whispering, someone laughing nervously in the background, and right in the center of it all, Walter Briggs, red-faced, trembling, completely losing control. But here's where it gets strange. The woman he's yelling at isn't reacting, not yelling back, not defending herself, not even walking away. She's just standing there, watching him, calm, too calm. Her name is Maya Nkomo, 32 years old, and in that moment she looks less like a victim and more like someone waiting for something. Walter keeps pointing at her, repeating the same thing over and over again. "You've been following me. You think I don't see it?" People start pulling out their phones, recording, judging, whispering. One store employee tries to step in, but Walter snaps at him too, accusing him of being part of it. Part of what? That's the question no one can answer. And then Maya finally speaks. Not loudly, not emotionally, just one quiet sentence. "Please, don't make this worse." Wait, what? Why would she say that? If she's innocent, wouldn't she defend herself? Wouldn't she call him out? But she doesn't. And that silence, it changes everything. Because now the crowd isn't just watching anymore. They're wondering, is she scared or hiding something? That's when someone calls the police. You can actually hear it in the video, the distant sound of sirens getting closer. And suddenly, Walter stops shouting, just for a second, long enough to look directly at Maya and whisper something no one else seems to catch, but the camera does. "You shouldn't have come here." Chills. Now the situation doesn't feel random anymore. It feels personal. The police arrived within minutes. 2 officers step in, separating the scene, asking questions, trying to calm things down. But the moment Walter points at Maya and demands she be arrested, everything flips. Because Maya doesn't argue. She just looks at the officers and says, "You might want to ask him who else is involved." Who else? What is she talking about? And just like that, what looked like a simple public meltdown turns into something much deeper, something no one in that store was ready for. And the truth, it didn't start here. It started weeks earlier, and by the time it comes out, someone's life is about to fall apart.
Officer Daniel Coffey is listening carefully as Walter points at Maya, accusing her of harassment. But then Walter says something that doesn't add up. "You've been coming to my house, Maya." The officer pauses. Maya never gave her name, so how does he know it? The air shifts. Officer Coffey turns slowly toward Maya, and for the first time, he starts to question the story he's being told. But before he can dig deeper, Maya is pulled aside by the second officer and asked one simple question. "Is there someone else involved?" Maya hesitates, just for a second, but that second changes everything. Because right before she answers, a voice calls out from behind them, "Hey, what's going on here?" Maya's eyes widen. She knows that voice. And the moment she turns around, her worst suspicion is confirmed. He's here. "Hey, what's going on here?" The voice cuts through the tension like a blade. Everyone turns. And there he is, the same man Maya saw behind that apartment door, 27-year-old Eric Briggs, Walter's grandson. Now let me ask you something. If you walked into a chaotic scene and saw your elderly grandfather arguing with a stranger, wouldn't your first instinct be concern? Not control, not dominance. But that's exactly what Eric brings into the situation. He walks in fast, but not panicked, focused, calculated. His eyes lock onto Maya first, not Walter, and that alone feels wrong. "Grandpa, what's happening?" he says, placing a firm hand on Walter's shoulder. But Walter doesn't respond. In fact, he stiffens, just slightly. You almost miss it, but Maya doesn't. Eric quickly shifts his attention to the officers, inserting himself into the conversation like he's been there the whole time. "She's been bothering him," he says, pointing casually at Maya, "showing up unannounced, stressing him out. He's not well." It sounds convincing, clean, simple, easy to believe, and for a moment, it works. Officer Coffey nods slowly, considering it. The situation begins to tilt back toward a misunderstanding. But then something small happens, something most people wouldn't notice. Walter grabs Eric's wrist, not gently, tightly. His fingers dig in just enough to stop him mid-sentence. Eric glances down, annoyed, and Walter leans in, whispering something under his breath. The camera barely catches it, but the audio picks up just enough. "Don't let her talk." Wait, what? Why would he say that? If Eric is helping him, why stop Maya from speaking? That's the moment everything starts to crack. Maya steps forward, her voice calm but firm now. "No," she says, "we need to check his financial records." The shift is immediate. Eric turns sharply toward her, his expression changing for the first time. Gone is the calm grandson. Now there's tension, edge, control slipping. "That's not happening. You're overstepping." Overstepping? Or getting too close? Officer Marbaga steps in, sensing the shift. His tone is softer, but his eyes are locked on Eric. "Do you live with your grandfather?" he asks. Simple question, straightforward. But Eric hesitates, just for a second. And that second says everything. Because while Eric pauses, Walter slowly shakes his head. Barely noticeable, but it's there. No. Now the story splits in two. One version, a caring grandson protecting his confused grandfather. The other, something much darker. Maya doesn't look at Eric. She looks at the officers. Over $40,000 has been withdrawn from his account in the last month. Silence. The crowd, once noisy and judgmental, goes completely still. Eric lets out a short laugh. Okay, and it's his money. But Walter doesn't laugh. He doesn't speak. He just stands there, looking smaller than before. And suddenly, the question isn't who caused the scene. It's who's been controlling it all along. Officer Coffey steps forward. His tone changes. "Sir, we're going to need you to stay right here." But Eric doesn't stay. He turns and starts walking toward the exit, fast. Not running, but not stopping either. And in that moment, everything becomes urgent, because if he walks out that door, the truth might walk out with him. "Stop right there." Officer Coffey's voice cuts through the growing tension, sharp and commanding. Eric freezes mid-step. His confident facade falters for the first time. A subtle twitch in his jaw. His hands shift nervously. The store, which moments ago was filled with murmurs and whispers, now holds its breath. Everyone senses something is about to snap. Walter stands slightly behind Eric, trembling. His face is pale, hands clasped tightly in front of him. The anger from earlier is gone, replaced by fear and exhaustion. For the first time, you see just how heavy the past few weeks have been on Walter. He's been trapped in his own home, controlled and silenced by someone he should be able to trust. Maya takes a careful step forward, calm but unwavering. She begins recounting the details she's pieced together over the past few weeks, the multiple large withdrawals, the irregular spending, the sudden changes in Walter's behavior. Her voice is steady, but every word carries weight. She emphasizes how these withdrawals are uncharacteristic, how they point to financial exploitation. Eric shifts his stance, tries to interject, but Officer Marbaga steps in firmly. "We're going to get to the bottom of this," he says, and suddenly the power dynamic changes. Eric realizes he's no longer directing the narrative, he's reacting. Walter finally speaks, not loudly, not with the anger from earlier, but in a quiet, tremulous voice. "He took my card." Simple words, but they carry a lifetime of frustration, fear, and betrayal. It's the confirmation Maya had suspected, the proof the officers needed. Eric tries to argue, to regain control, but his responses are shaky, inconsistent. The officers press harder, asking about withdrawals and access to accounts. He can't answer clearly. His calm act collapses into frustration, revealing the manipulation he's been exerting over Walter. The store, which moments ago was filled with judgmental eyes aimed at Walter, shifts. People begin to understand. Their assumptions crumble. The loud, aggressive old man isn't the perpetrator. He's the victim. The one causing the scene was actually trying to be seen, to be heard. Backup arrives. Eric is separated from Walter, who finally exhales, a long, shaky release of the tension he's held inside. Maya remains close, offering reassurance. The officers start taking formal statements, and it's clear the situation is no longer a misunderstanding. It's a case of clear financial abuse, coercion, and manipulation. For a moment, the world seems to pause. The drama, the chaos, the fear, all crystallizes into clarity. And just as Walter begins to calm, the implications of what just unfolded hit everyone present. Because this scene, this public outburst, was never about anger. It was about survival. And now the real reckoning is about to begin. Eric Briggs is arrested on the spot, not just for suspicion, but for clear, documented financial exploitation, coercion, and manipulation of his own grandfather. Officers seize his belongings, including Walter's bank card, receipts, and a phone filled with transaction alerts. Every withdrawal, every suspicious transaction is traced directly to him. The evidence is undeniable. The logical payoff is clear. Over $40,000 had been withdrawn from Walter's accounts in just a few weeks. Surveillance from nearby ATMs confirms Eris was physically present for most of these withdrawals. Everything Maya had suspected is now proven. What looked like a scene caused by an aggressive old man was actually a desperate plea to be seen and to be heard. But the emotional payoff hits hardest. Walter slumps into a nearby chair, shaking, but no longer in anger. Relief washes over him. Weeks of fear, confusion, and isolation finally give way. Tears form in his eyes as he whispers, "Thank you." Not to Maya, not to the officers, but to the invisible weight of finally being understood. Maya kneels beside him, offering reassurance. It's a quiet, human moment of release, of justice finally felt, of validation. The bystanders, once judgmental, lower their phones, some ashamed, others stunned. They now realize how quickly assumptions can mislead, how easily appearances deceive. The consequences unfold immediately and realistically. Eric faces multiple charges: elder abuse, fraud, unlawful financial access, and coercion. Investigators later uncover patterns suggesting this wasn't his first attempt to exploit a relative. Walter, meanwhile, is placed under protective supervision temporarily, with Maya overseeing his case personally. His finances are secured, his independence cautiously restored. Social services steps in to ensure his safety, while the store releases a statement clarifying the incident and urging the public not to rush to judgment in similar situations. The final resolution moment is simple but powerful. Days later, Walter sits outside his apartment, sunlight on his face, a cup of tea in his hands. He's calm, present, and finally free from the invisible chains that had controlled him. No shouting, no fear, just peace. Maya checks in periodically, but she doesn't need to intervene. Walter has regained a sense of